Good afternoon, guys. Hope you're having an amazing day. It is Ping here. Today we are in the city of Antigua, Guatemala, and obviously we've got to try some local Guatemalan food. I think the first stop we're going to go to is the market, but not the municipal market, the sort of outdoor street stall market outside of Iglesia La Merced, which is this really big church. So we're going to go ahead and check that out and see what their food options are. We went there before, we went there yesterday, but there's so many more foods, so I want to go ahead and see what they have. Alright, first stop of the day. Literally, actually, it's the same exact stall that we went to. That stall sells literally everything under the sun, but I've gotten some dobladas, which are some traditional deep fried sort of packages together, but inside this one is potatoes and meat. Usually, like for example, when I was at Lake Atitlan, it was only potatoes and they would put the chicken on top or the meat on top, but here they put it together. So I'm curious as to how this is going to taste. It literally looks like a very big curry puff, but it's topped off with avocados, onions, salsa, cilantro. It looks really delicious, and it's so crispy, and all the things on top, it looks amazing. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a very big bite. I mean, look at how thick that is. All right, let's go ahead and give it a bite. That is delicious, and there's so many things going on in there. So first off, onions, nice, crunchy. The avocado is so smooth, and it adds that sort of avocado-y, earthy flavor. The salsa is actually not that spicy. It's a very tomatoey, wet salsa, but that's exactly what you need, because the doblada itself is pretty dry. It's fried, it's crispy. Inside that meat, oh, it's like kind of like a potato mash with meat inside. It's pretty interesting. There's not much flavor actually to the potatoes and meat. It's just kind of mixed all together really well, mashed up like a paste almost. So you can see on the inside, the meat and the potatoes are indistinguishable because they're just so mixed in together. And honestly, just touching the doblada, you can see my hands are a little bit oily. They're a little bit greasy from all the oil from frying the doblada. But yeah, really delicious. I would say that not the best thing I've had, but I do like that the tomato salsa helps to give it a little bit of like the wetness, because the meat inside can be a little bit dry and the outside is also really dry. But because it's sort of like a paste, the potato and the meat all mixed in together, it's not too dry that it's unmanageable. It's just pretty dry because it's been sitting out there for a long time. The skin's a little bit crackled. But yeah, really interesting, and I love that it's potato and meat mixed together. I'm gonna finish this up, and then there's something else I actually want to try from this market specifically, so I'll see you guys then. Ese a 10, ¿sí? Sí. Dame una porción. Gracias. Alright, next food we've gotten, which actually comes from a different stall from the one we were at earlier and yesterday, is this delicious looking thing. It looks really good, but it's pretty unique. So if you remember in Mexico when we were in Puebla, we had Puebla's mole, which was super famous, and then we also had mole in Oaxaca. So I haven't had mole in about a month now. Now this mole is the same. It's the same type of mole, but instead of putting meat inside like chicken or beef like they do in Mexico, here they put bananas and they've turned it into a dessert, which honestly makes more sense because mole is sweet. I've always thought that mole should be a dessert, but here they've actually turned it into a dessert with bananas and everything. You can see it's got that same dark brown, thick, sort of reddish consistency and color, and it's obviously topped off with the same sesame seeds that you would see if it was a chicken mole. But it looks absolutely delicious. I'm just gonna go in and first go ahead and try some of the sauce out. I'm curious whether the sauce is really exactly the same as the ones in Puebla. So let's go ahead and try it out. Yes. Wow. The other name this thing goes by is bananas and chocolate, because yeah, it's got that strong, sweet, chocolatey taste. I will say this is a little bit sweeter than the moles I had in Mexico, because, you know, those moles had chicken and beef inside. But the interesting thing is that this mole, this chocolate, it still got a bit of saltiness. It still got a little hint of that saltiness, which is really, really interesting because I thought that would only be in meat. But I think maybe the mole, the paste itself, the spices they put inside, a bit of it does have a little bit of salt. So that is very, very interesting to me. All right, let's go ahead and get a piece of this banana, the main event, of course. And you can see the bananas are just completely submerged in that sauce. They've really, like, they've turned completely brown. Like, you cannot see the yellow in the banana anymore. Let's go ahead and give this a bite. Yeah, I mean, bananas here in Guatemala, super, super starchy, not that sweet. And the same can be said about this banana here. The sweetness actually comes from the mole and the chocolate on the outside. The banana itself doesn't really have a sweetness. All the flavor, the sweetness comes from the sauce surrounding the banana. The banana is kind of this like starchy hunk of meat that's just in the middle of the mole sauce. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. The banana is just this starchy meat. It doesn't really add much flavor. It's not really like sweet or fruity like you would expect, but the sweetness comes from the sauce, that mole chocolate sauce, which is very, very delicious. All right, that's gonna be it for lunch, but I'll see you guys when we eat again. We're gonna go to a different market. I'm hoping it's gonna be open, and I'll show you guys some food from there as well. Well, good evening, guys, and it's time for dinner time. You can see right in front of me, this is the Iglesia El Calvario, which is a very beautiful yellow colored church, but right outside is what we're here for. This is the street food market here. You can smell, the smell here is incredible. We're gonna go see what there is. I'm gonna check it out first, and then I'm gonna decide what I'm gonna eat, because there are a ton of options here, and I'm excited to try. Dame un chuchito, por favor. All right, first food for tonight. We've gotten something that I absolutely love here in Guatemala. This is a chuchito, or a Guatemalan tamal. It's noisy, it's busy here, but we don't really have a choice. So let's go ahead and start eating. This chuchito is made of pork, but when you cut it open, you can see there's a lot of other things. There's like vegetables in there. I think there's onions, and it's covered in this like salsa, this like tomatoey red sauce. Let's go ahead and try it out. I'm gonna get a little piece, really, really dunk it in that sauce, get up all that salsa. All right, let's go for it. This is probably the most unique chuchito I've had here in Guatemala. Why? The sauce. It's kind of like an Italian tomato pasta sauce. It has kind of like a basil-y flavor. It's also got a little bit of sourness, I think, from some lemon, which is really unique. It's kind of like an Italian tamale is the best way I would describe it. The meat inside, absolutely delicious, really, really tender, and I love that that dough is a little bit chewy, but it's very, very like crumbly once you get in, and it just completely melts away. I mean, it's a very like little bite, and it just completely disappears when you enter your mouth because it's absolutely delicious. But for me, that sauce, it's so interesting. That red tomato-y sauce, like I said, it's like an Italian bolognese pasta sauce, and I have to say, it works pretty well because that pork needs a bit of that tomato-y acidic sauce, and that sauce is perfectly complements the chuchito. Wow, really, really delicious. And for 5 quetzales, you get a whole combo with the sauce and everything. I didn't really taste the vegetables. I think they're kind of cooked down and soft to the point that you can't really distinguish them from the meat anymore. Like I said, most of it's just all stuffed in there, jam-packed, but it's still really, really good. And I have to say, this one, they've really stuffed it with a lot of meat. Usually, sometimes when you get chuchitos, they have a big layer of dough, very little meat on the inside, but here, I would say there's a pretty big quantity of meat and vegetables inside. So, big thumbs up from me, good value for money, absolutely delicious. And that sauce, man, that Italian pasta tomato sauce, that's something I have not seen here in Guatemala. Maybe there's an Italian chef making this, who knows, but really, really good. I want to finish this up, and then we're gonna go ahead and get more food. All right, next food we've gotten is from a different stall. This stall is very famous for their pupusas. which if you remember the last time we had pupusa was in Shela in Quetzaltenango. So it's been like over a week since I've had a pupusa. This one, once again, made of chicharron, which is that sort of meat on the inside. Now, compared to the one I had in Quetzaltenango and Shela, this is a little bit disappointing. If you remember the one in Shela, it was like piled high with onions and stuff. Here, it's a pupusa, but all they have was avocado and salsa. And even then, the pupusa looks pretty thin. The one that I had in Shela was like a fat pupusa. It was completely stuffed. So I'm not really sure what I've gotten myself into. I hope it's really good. But I will say the other ones in Shela did not have avocados on top. So maybe this is something else. I'm not really sure. Just holding it, you can tell it's not really heavy. You've got that sort of oily, greasy dough. All right, let's go ahead and give this a try. Okay, really, really delicious. I love that it's super, super crispy on the outside, really, really oily. When I had it in Shela, it was kind of drowned out in that sauce, so you couldn't really taste the actual flavor and the crispiness from the pupusa. Here, you can. I love the avocados, nice creamy layer, actually a little bit salty, and the salsa, fantastic. It's a tomatoey salsa. It's not an Italian flavored salsa, but it's nice. But I have one problem. I don't see chicharron. I paid for pupusa with chicharron, but there's no chicharron inside. I'm gonna give it another bite, give it another chance. Maybe I've gotten the bad side, so let's go ahead and give it another bite. Okay, I do finally taste, and I do finally see the chicharron. Here the chicharron is super, super crispy. Compared to the one I had in Shela, this one is really, really like, almost like gritty, almost like very crunchy bits of meat inside. However, there's really not that much of it. It's pretty sparsed out, not that much chicharron inside. So compared to the one in Shela, the one in Shela had way more meat. Like, it was fat, it was absolutely stuffed. Here, the meat has kind of become part of the dough. It doesn't really have its own layer. You can see here there's like one little piece of meat, and that's it. So when it comes to value for money, this, not so much. There's really not that much meat inside. But I would say flavor-wise and the overall combination, absolutely delicious. And that chicharron, it brings a little extra layer of saltiness that adds to the avocados, which are a little bit salty and a little bit acidic already. So it's good. I just wish they had stuffed it with more chicharron, but also if they stuffed it with more chicharron, I don't know if the dough could still be that crispy. So a lot of pros and cons, a lot of takeaways, but it's interesting to try this out. Very different from the one I had in Shela. All right, I'm gonna finish this up, and I think we're gonna go ahead and get something sweet to cap off this video. All right, last food of the day, which technically isn't really a food. Arroz con leche. This is a typical Latin American drink, but I've realized I haven't had it in Guatemala yet. And this is my last day in Guatemala, so obviously I have to try arroz con leche. I've had ponche de leche before, but they don't have ponche de leche here. I think that's only in Shela. They have arroz con leche, and oh man, that cinnamon smell, that is so, so strong. I mean, he literally just poured some cinnamon on top. It looks absolutely amazing, and it costs 5 quetzales. The interesting thing about street food, especially here in Antigua, is that while most people eat cold food, so we're talking about sandwiches, tostadas, things that aren't heated, that are warm salads and stuff like that, they drink warm drinks to warm themselves up because the weather here is pretty cold. It's probably like 19, 20 degrees Celsius, so you do want something warm. But rather than eat warm food, local Guatemalans here in Antigua drink warm drinks, and then they have cold food, which is really, really interesting to me. But let's go ahead and give this arroz con leche a try. It looks delicious. I love arroz con leche. I mean, first off, that cinnamon flavor, absolutely amazing. I was actually blowing on it a little bit because it was hot, and I sort of blew the cinnamon away, unfortunately. But what I love about this arroz con leche is that it has a bit of like a corn flavor to it, and I think that's actually the thickener they use. A lot of the desserts and the sweets and the drinks they use here in Guatemala to thicken it up, whether it's a syrup or it's like, you know, a liquid here in arroz con leche, they use corn. and you can taste the corn flavor. It's a pretty strong corn flavor in there. But obviously, you still have the milk flavor. The milk flavor's not that strong though, and of course you've got the little balls of rice inside which just sort of slide down. The rice added like a little nice sort of jello-y texture. They've been cooked down so much that they don't really keep their shape anymore. They're kind of like gummy and they just go all the way down. What I like about this one specifically, however, is that usually when you get arroz con leche, it's a little bit too thick. It's like almost like a pudding. This one, it's not really a pudding. It's kind of liquidy. I think they've added a little bit more milk and they've had water from the corn, is my guess. They put water from the corn as a thickener, but it doesn't completely congeal the entire thing such that it becomes like a pudding, especially in Mexico where a lot of the arroz con leche it's a pudding. But here it's a drink, like it's a liquid form. You can drink it down, which I absolutely love. So that is amazing. Thumbs up from me again. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys in today's video here for food in Antigua, Guatemala. It's been a delicious day. I mean, no, the bananas and chocolate were a delicious dessert. I had some really good pupusas here. Although they're very different from the ones in Shela, they're still absolutely delicious. Guatemalan food is so unique and regional variations are really, really distinct. I mean, food here in Antigua is pretty different from the food in Shela. So when you're here, make sure to try it out. Anyways, that's going to be the last food video here from Guatemala. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this food series from Guatemala. It's been absolutely delicious trying out the food here. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to stay tuned. There's more food and travel videos coming up. So if you're into that, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye guys.